All right, so whenever you're ready, we can get the
All
presentation
right.
started. So Alayna's going to share her screen, and we'll kind of walk through a presentation. It'll be about 10 minutes or so. We want to give most of the time to you all to ask any questions. There were some questions that were posed ahead of time, so I will answer some of those at the end. So pathways at Winnetonka. This is going to be just a unique and different experience, and we think it's important for us to talk to parents about it because you experience school in a very different way than your students are going to be experiencing high school. They're going to be experiencing high school in a way that I did not experience high school. And that's going to be, in my opinion, a very, very positive thing. But we want to give you some background of how we started this process. So about a year ago, year and a half ago, we started deciding and discussing what it means to radically redefine the high school experience for kids. And when you hear something like that, you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like some astronomical thing. I'm going to tell you this real quick. I'm at home and my son is 3. He's going to be in and out of here, so bear with me. It's all in love, so you're going to get to know me and my entire family throughout this presentation probably. So just get that out of the way. All right, so we're excited about boldly redefining the high school experience for students. The why behind that is because the world is changing. I think you guys recognize that the world is not the same world that you grew up in, that even I grew up in, and we're in the midst of a fourth industrial revolution, and the job market and the skills that students need are different. So we want to make sure that we are growing and developing along with the world. So what we did was we started a portrait of a graduate process where we brought industry leaders, school administrators, parents, students to be a part of this conversation about what should, excuse me, Asa, you gotta go downstairs. What should high school look like as we enter into this fourth industrial revolution? So through that process, we came up with 7 characteristics that we call competencies that we want students to be able to do by the time they graduate. So those are really, competencies is really just a big word for saying, what are the skills or characteristics we want every single graduate from North Kansas City schools to have? Not just Winnetonka, but anybody who graduates from our district. So those 7 characteristics were integrity. We want our students to have a learner's mindset, be great problem solvers, be adaptable, be able to communicate, collaborate well with others, and then have this sense of empathy because we live in a world where you have to be able to connect with people. So this is something that school leaders, industry leaders, students, and parents all agreed upon. The biggest thing is we want to make sure that our students in North Kansas City schools are leaving with an advantage. When they leave our district, we want to make sure that they're at a point to where they are the cream of the crop. We want to make sure that they are marketable to anybody they come across, whether they decide to go to college, go straight into the workforce, whatever it may be. We want them to have a full plan, and we want them to make sure that they are at an advantage because they graduated from North Kansas City schools. Again, when I talk about being college and career ready, we want to make sure that we don't leave any stone unturned while we're talking to our students and serving our kids. So when we talk about this bold redefinition of high school, we want something that connects academics with the real world. So we want their experience in school to be meaningful, not just sitting in siloed classes where you go to English one block and then you go to social studies one block and you're learning things in isolation that sometimes don't quite amount to one full connected experience in school. So we're trying to find a way to connect those experiences. So we're having our students go through what we call a 4-year program of study that's focusing their learning. I really want to reiterate that we're not having your student choose a career. That's not what we're doing at all. We're introducing them to different career fields and pathways and providing them with skills, knowledge, information. So once it comes time for them to choose a type of pathway they want to go down, they have options and they not asking them to choose a career in the 8th grade. All right, so you've probably heard me say this term pathways over and over and over again. When we say pathways, where I'm actually in the process of where I'm trying to change my language as well, because we're actually changing this language. We're trying to be a school within a school. So at Winnetonka High School, every single student will still be a Winnetonka student. However, we're asking every single 8th grader to choose a school of within our school. So those 4 pathways are school within a school. That's health and wellness, business and communication, design, innovation, and technology, and human services. So students will choose one of those schools of to be a part of, even though they're all Winnetonka students. Their experience will be tailored based on the school of that they've chosen. So we have an introductory video to kind of give you an understanding of what pathways may look like. So we'll play that. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long, and then we'll pick up the presentation from there. It's 6 minutes and 12 seconds.
A little over.
Hey, Future Griffins, it's your principal, Dr. Eric Johnson. I have some very exciting news for you. Next school year, as you enter into your freshman year, we will be doing high school totally differently than we've done in the past. We've been in the process of redesigning what high school looks like for our students. Instead of going from class to class in silos, we're actually going to have you choose what we call a pathway. And these pathways will be directing you toward academic experiences as well as particular career choices later on once you graduate high school. Everything will be streamlined, it will be connected, and it is focused on your talents and your interests. I've asked a few of our teachers to give you a little bit more background about our pathways and what they will mean for you so you can get your ideas and juices flowing about what may be a good fit for you when you become a freshman at Winnetonka High School.
Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Hendrick from Winnetonka High School coming at you to talk to you about one of our amazing pathways, the Design, Innovation, and Technology pathway. We're so excited about that because we are working on a way for you to be able to take the things that you are really good at and love to do, like performing arts and visual arts and industrial tech and engineering and theater, and we're looking at ways where we can put all of those things together and show you how you can make a career out of the things that you're really passionate about.
Hi, my name is Ms. Lee, and I work in the Human Services pathway. Some of the careers you might be considering when entering this pathway are teaching, law enforcement, social work, cosmetology, counseling, non-for-profit work, and culinary arts. In this pathway, you will engage in real-world experiences with community-based learning. Seek to serve, support, and care for others in a global world with compassion, empathy, and equity. Expand your thinking beyond individual self and in order to become an intrinsic, motivated advocate for the community. Hope to see you in the pathway.
Hi Vikings, I'm Mrs. Foreman, and I have been excited to be a part of creating a business and communication pathways just for you. If you are considering a career in public relations, sales, marketing, law, finance, or really interested in being an entrepreneur, owning your own business, this is the pathway for you. You, in this pathway, will work together with industry professionals to create portfolios and showcases to show your diverse skills and accomplishments. You will explore multiple aspects of business and communications to build a foundation for your future in any of these careers. You're going to understand, you're going to learn how to negotiate and balance all the diverse views to reach well-supported, industry-focused solutions. Business and communications, that's the path for you.
Hi Vikings, I'm Mr. Jansen, and I've been excited to be a part of creating a health and wellness pathway for you guys. If you are considering being a doctor, nurse, EMT, lab technician, physical therapist, athletic trainer, fitness instructor, or nutritionist, this pathway will be a great fit for you. In this pathway, you will use hands-on experiences and collaborative projects to learn the fundamental concepts of medicine and everyday well-being. You will explore various careers in the medical field through field trips, personal interactions with professionals, and coursework that's both relevant and purposeful. You're also going to build an academic foundation to become competent and confident healthcare professionals. Not only will you learn the academic foundations of the medical field, but learn how to do so with empathy and integrity. I can't wait to meet all of my new students next year, especially all my health and wellness students. See you soon.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing your teachers talk about the pathways, and my hope is that you heard something that stuck out to you that made you think, that's going to be the pathway for me. Whether it's human services, DIT, business and communication, or health and wellness, we're going to have something that fits you. We're so excited to have you at Winnetonka High School, and we cannot wait until you enter into our school building and experience our new pathways.
All right, so hopefully that gave you a nice introduction to pathways or schools of the schools within our school. So I want to just break it down.
For those of you who have joined after we started, if you guys have any questions at any point, please feel free to throw them in the chat as the presentation is going, and then we will go ahead and get those answered at the end.
Perfect. So as you saw from the video, we're going to have 4 schools within our school. And what does that mean for your students? Again, I want to continue to reiterate that we're not asking them to choose a career. We're asking them to start thinking about career paths and exposing them to different careers that are within a career pathway. So as this chart shows, let's look at the School of Business, for example. So the School of Business would have 3 different pathways within it. So a student could choose the business pathway, they could choose a marketing pathway, or they can choose a communications pathway. When they look at that, the classes they have from their freshman year all the way through their senior year, some of them are already determined which ones they're going to take. So you have to take these certain classes, 5 classes your freshman year, 4 in the core, and then 4 in the technical core, which I'll explain in a minute. 1 in the technical core, which I'll explain in a minute. And then they still have electives, because I know one of the biggest things is our students want to know that even if I'm in this pathway, are you going to force me to take all these different classes and I can't do something that I'm passionate about, that I just love, even if it doesn't fit in the pathway? That's not true. You can still take electives. So if you're a student who is in band, or if your student is an AVID, if they're a choir student, orchestra, they'll still have room in their schedule to take all those fine arts classes they love. And there are some fine arts classes that are already embedded within the pathways. So again, those pathways that the school level that they're in would have different pathways that they could choose from, and their classes will be determined based on the pathway that they're in. So these are some of the possible careers that that a student could see in our different schools of. So let's look at the School of Design, Innovation, and Technology. That's where you see students who maybe want to be photographers, artists, graphic designers, people who want to be engineers, musicians, those who want to work in construction in some form or fashion. That is probably one of the schools of that I'm most excited about, because the folks who developed that pathway, they were very intentional about making sure that students have options, that they're looking at science, technology, engineering, and math, that they're looking at creative design, that they're allowing students to still have their fine arts drive their schedule. I think there are going to be some students who are very, very excited about that pathway, as well as the other ones.
One side note on this, obviously, this is not going to be an extensive list of all careers that could be included in that. If you ever have a question about a career and where it might fit, please feel free to reach out to one of us, and we are happy to have that conversation with you. There are some careers that could also be fluid between pathways, and so really knowing the specific interest of your student will really be helpful in helping find the perfect pathway for them.
Definitely. And they're going to find, we're also providing opportunities for students to learn more about those pathways. So they're doing, excuse me, we're learning more about them to help guide them toward a pathway. So they did, we'll call it a survey. It's called Missouri Connections. And through the Missouri Connections, it gives us an idea of what are your students' interests. So as they talk to their counselors, they can start saying, hey, on the Missouri Connections, you ranked really high in business, or you ranked really high in being a person who cares for people. They can use that information to help guide them toward a school of, so they're not just making a very difficult decision blindly without any understanding of who they are as individuals. So they're going to continue talking to the teachers and their counselors, and they'll have that support. They're going to talk to you all about hopefully their schedules and what they're interested in. What I'm really excited about is that the real world experiences that students will receive because of this redesign in our high school experience. So I mentioned earlier that we're working with industry leaders, and part of our goal is to raise the hierarchy of the student's audience, right? Right now, what we do in school, a lot of the work students do is for their teacher. They're sitting in their classroom, they may do a project, it's for their teacher or for their classmates, and it doesn't really live outside the walls of Winnetonka High School. The way that we're currently doing it, we're giving our students real world experiences and connections to people who are already in the field. So for example, if we do a project and it is in health and wellness, we may have our students connected to somebody from the University of Cleveland who is doing direct lab work with our students. Or if we are doing a project in human services and in the human services pathway, and the ELA class is talking about environmental wellness, they may directly connect with another organization inside our community to get those experiences. On the job training, visits to those locations, Zoom meetings, and guest speakers that will come in, internships with these folks as they get toward the junior and senior year, mock interviews, and capstone projects that will really support the learning of these students. So I talked about student schedules a little bit and how they'll have 4 core classes. That's their English, math, science, and social studies courses within their pathway. But then they also have what we call a technical core class. That technical core class is pathway specific, and it's giving them basic skills that they need to be successful in that pathway, whether that's content knowledge or theoretical knowledge that they need for that pathway. And it also serves as what I call the linchpin for that pathway. So they'll start doing, we call them interdisciplinary projects, meaning you have projects that span across your English class, social studies class, and that technical core class. So those teachers will work together, and what they're teaching in their classes are so interconnected, they have a joint project that students will be working on. And the content that's occurring in a technical core class may be what's driving that project. So we're really excited just about the ability to connect students' classes and no longer, again, work in those silos where you go to English and learn something in English, and then you learn something in math, and they may not be connected in any way whatsoever.
We actually just had a question come in that fits perfectly onto this slide, so I'm going to go ahead and address it. They asked if any of our pathways end in industry-based certifications, and that is actually a goal, is to increase the number of certifications that we offer for students. So for several of our students, they will actually be out of their technical core classes for their possibly junior and senior year so that they can be enrolled in off-campus programs. And those are the off-campus programs that we currently offer through NCC, NCAPS, the different places that they fit perfectly within our pathways. So instead of trying to introduce something different, we're just going to utilize what's already working. And many of those programs already have certifications, but we are looking at what certifications can also be added that can help, and certifications that really mean something in the industry, not just ones that were created for the sake of it.
Absolutely. So I talked about earlier in the presentation about our students leaving with an advantage, and we're really trying to focus on what market value assets can our students leave with. And through those client-based experiences, those real-world experiences that they receive, they actually will be leaving with an advantage, because you never know, you may have a student leaving with their CNA, or they may have all types of certificates that they could leave with it as a market value asset. So right now, we're in a process of thinking about enrollment for students. So we know that this is a very special class. They are our first class that is going to be part of this pathway process, and they're going to go from freshman year all the way through their senior year. And it's starting here in the 8th grade. So Miss Martin has already been over to the middle school quite a few times. She was there to help administer the Missouri Connections survey. The counselor has helped in that process as well. The principal, Dr. Van Batavia, and the assistant principal, Dr. Seiler, they are heavily involved in this process. So because I know you're still connected to Maple Park, if you have questions, know that you also have resources there. The benefit of being a feeder pattern is that we have great relationships between the administration and we have great conversation. So if you have questions about pathways, you can talk to Dr. Van Batavia, or Dr. Seiler, or Hillary Barr. Is that her last name? Hillary Barr, the counselor. McLaughlin. So students are having these conversations with their counselors now. They're having conversations with their teachers, and we're going to start that enrollment process for them in late January. Is when Winnetonka counselors will go over to the middle school to start getting them enrolled in some of these courses. However, before they enroll, there's a lot of information passing along back and forth that's occurring. We're asking students what their interests are. They're taking probably additional surveys. We're doing what do you call, like, mini modules where we go into the students' classrooms and tell them more about the pathways. So they're going to be very well informed. They're probably going to be tired of hearing about it by the time we're done with them, but it's going to be very beneficial for them. So that was 25 minutes. When I say I'm going to speak for 10 minutes, you guys are going to learn that it's really 25. So
you had 6 of a video in there. I gave you a little grace.
So I appreciate you giving me some grace. But what we really want to do is take the rest of this time just to answer questions for you all. I've been invested in this and ingrained in it for 18 months. So the words that I use kind of just flow out because I've been talking about it. But I remember when I first sat down and was listening to Dr. Sutton explain, I was like, what is this man talking about? Like, I need to understand this more. So you probably feel the same way as I'm talking with you right now. So this is time for you to ask questions, and we just want to answer those for you because we want to make sure that you have a full understanding of what's happening with your child's education.
2 of the biggest questions that we had some of them actually come prior to the meeting and then that have come through now, are what if a student does not see their interest in a pathway, and can they change their pathway?
Okay, so if a student doesn't see their interest in a pathway, we probably just need to have more conversations about what it is that they're truly interested in, because they may not see it initially, but as you start to listen to students, and that's something we're trying to get really, really good at, is just like, hear what are they really saying as they're talking to us. So we're just going to be better listeners and then guide them in that way. They are not stuck in a pathway. So if they choose one, they say, hey, you know, I got in it and this really isn't for me, there's a process that they can go through to switch their pathways.
So one question was, what about the children that are currently virtual? Anything that we put out to our students so far has actually been done through their social studies class, and we will continue to do that through their teachers. It will go mainly through Canvas, and if it is not directly on Canvas, then it will be sent out through there as an external link. But we are making sure that anything that is sent out, we are doing our absolute best to ensure that our virtual students get the exact same material so that they are not missing any opportunities. So the aptitude test that was mentioned was Missouri Connections, and that is something that the students have already completed. They completed it in October, and prior to taking that survey, they actually watched the video that we watched this evening so that they would have a little bit of understanding of what pathways were and why it was important that they were taking this survey. So one of the questions that we had prior to the meeting was how intern and externship would be graded and if they would take place during school hours.
Mm-hmm. You can go ahead and talk about it, Alayna.
So for internships, our goal is that they will be able to be done during school hours. So it would actually take a block or 2 of their classes. There would be an opportunity if for some reason a student might want to extend it. They would work with the business partner. Our business partners have been extremely flexible, which is so exciting for us. They are so excited about this. And As for the grading, we have current internship programs that are occurring now with our students. And so we'll just follow that same model that has worked up to this point. So one question prior to the meeting was, are classes separated by pathway, similar to the team structure in the middle school, or will they be overlapped between pathways, and will students physically be separated by their pathway choice? You want to answer that one, and I'll get caught up on the chat over here?
Yep, I'll try to tackle that one. All right, so so the question is it similar to middle school teaming? I don't know a whole lot about middle school teaming. I've been a high school guy my entire life, so I can't say yes or no, but what I can tell you is what these pathways will look like. So all students, all freshmen, no matter what, they're going to take English 1 next year. However, their English 1 class is going to be taught through the lens of their pathway. So for example, in health and wellness, they're going to have English 1, English 1 medical English. That's the focus of their English class. So they're going to be using that lens, same standards across every single class, every single pathway, for 9th graders, but the lens is different. In business, the lens is going to be a little bit different for English. Will students be separated? They will have classes with kids who are in their pathway, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that they will not interact with or cross any other students who are not in the school. So they'll still see students through electives. There's some electives that are shared classes between pathways, so there'll be some overlap between classes for kids as well. So they'll still have interaction with all 368 freshmen, I think is what we have.
Yes, and kind of connected to that, another question that we had prior to the meeting was how targeted the core classes will be as far as the curriculum. And it will definitely have a lens on it, but there are still the state standards that have to be taught. There are graduation requirements that will not change at this point, diploma options that are still going to stay the same. So every student, no matter which pathway they're in, will still have a very well-rounded education. Absolutely. And our goal is to get them college ready or career ready for whatever their path takes them.
Definitely. So they'll still have those same standards, but the way that we approach it and intentionally connect those standards is what's going to be different, in the lens through which we look at those standards. Instead of learning about how to ride a bike, they'll ride a bike. That's not part of the curriculum, but that's kind of the concept, right? You don't learn how to ride a bike by reading about it. You learn how to ride a bike by riding a bike. So we're trying to get our students to the process of where they're doing the stuff as opposed to just learning about it in a passive way.
We had another question on internships and if students will be leaving campus for internships. And the goal is to get those students into the businesses. All of our businesses, we make sure that it is a safe environment for those students to get into. We want them to have the best experience, but some internships can be offered virtually just to meet the needs of whether it's the business and or the student.
Right, and internships are really more toward the junior, senior year. So, and the lower grades, freshmen and sophomores, they'll still have connections to industry leaders through guest speakers coming into the building, students going to on-site location to do maybe a one-day shout or something of that nature, but a full-blown internship is more so for the junior, senior year.
So one of the questions that I will allow you to answer is, if my student attending Winnetonka next year continues in the schools 100% virtual, will the program be implemented for them?
Okay, so I'm going to let Dr. Sutton talk about some of this as well. I think and people may think I'm crazy, but there are some things that come along with the pandemic that have really opened up our eyes in education to possibilities. So I honestly believe that we will see an increase in virtual learning. I cannot speak for the district in terms of if it's going to be a 100% thing for anyone, but I will anticipate there being a lot more options for virtual learners. And because we're boldly redefining our high school experience, how we're organizing our high school experience now will fit into that virtual model as well. Dr. Sutton, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, no, you said it well. That's certainly something that we're taking a look at as we move forward, that we anticipate that we are going to have a higher demand of students than in previous years, take this year out of it. And so we're certainly looking at how we continue to offer a high level of virtual courses but we're not to that place yet where we have it all figured out. But we certainly want our virtual students to have very similar experiences to our students that are face-to-face. Whether or not we can offer the exact same courses virtually that we do face-to-face is really the piece of the puzzle that we're going to have to figure out over the next couple of months.
Right. That's a great question. Thank you.
Yes, and connected with internships again, will transportation be provided for internships and other opportunities outside of the building?
That's the goal. When we have something outside of the building for students, our goal is to always be equitable in our processes. So we do want to find ways to try to provide transportation.
Absolutely. So at this point, we have got through, I believe, all of the questions that were asked prior to, and I believe we are caught up in the chat. So if you guys have any more questions, please go ahead and throw them in there. We are happy to stay on as long as you guys would like. We can get any questions answered, but we're also happy to give 27 minutes back to you of your evening.
I think the last thing I want to say just to everybody is we appreciate you. First of all, we're living in the midst of a pandemic, and the fact that you are engaging with us tonight, I just appreciate it, because I know there's 100 other things you could be doing, but you're spending time with us and being partners in your child's education. I truly appreciate that, and that I don't take that lightly. The second thing is I really am excited about what we're doing with the Pathways model. We've had some of our current seniors say, man, where was this when I started my freshman year, for real? So we have some students who have, if we had Pathways, they would have gone through it. So I think about one young lady, she's a senior graduating this year, and she's pretty much done everything that we would have asked a student who is in the health and wellness pathway to do. She went through all the tech core classes. She was engaged in internships, and she said this would have been really beneficial had it been put together this way for me. So adults sometimes think we know what's best for kids and we think they're going to really like it, but coming from a student's mouth saying, looking back on this, I can see how this was beneficial for me, gives me hope that your students will love it as well.
We did have another question come in. How do we get business owners to volunteer for internships or network with businesses? Dr. Sutton has really led the charge on that, and it's been great. He actually walked out of a meeting that I was in with him last week to go check up with a couple business partners, get them on board. We have created advisory councils for each of the different pathways. So I have the privilege to sit over DIT, our Design Innovation Technology. So it is a group of businesses in the community who are not only allowing us to use them as resources, but they're also spreading the word and their excitement about it, of being able to get students out to them, but also get them into us.
Right. One thing that I don't know why this is on my mind, but I feel it's important to mention, specifically with the health and wellness pathway. A lot of people think that you're only in that pathway if you want to be a doctor or a nurse, and that's not the case. There is a medical pathway in that school of health and wellness, but there's also the wellness pathway where you're looking at things like mind, body, and soul types of things. When you're looking at like emotional counseling, and you're looking at being exercise fitness and being a dietitian or a nutritionist, people like that. So I want to make sure before I leave here, I identify that the health and wellness pathway, our School of Health and Wellness, is not only about medicine.
Yes. And there is no pathway that is specific for our high flyers or for our students who struggle. Every student will have every opportunity, no matter where they are starting or where they are wanting to end. Every student will be given every single opportunity.
Right. And to give you guys a concrete example, if I were a freshman Eric Johnson a long time ago, so long ago, I would have been in the human services pathway because I knew I cared for people. I wanted to be in the field where I supported people. At first, I thought I was going to be a firefighter. I know, right? I thought I was going to be a firefighter. And my wife laughs at me because I still want to be a volunteer firefighter, and she's killing my dreams. But I knew that I wanted to do something in that field. Even though my path was like, I'm going to be a firefighter, I ended up being an educator. And that's a field where you're serving people, police officers, law enforcement, things like that. Those things would fit into that category.
If they are looking into biomedical engineering, what would we recommend? Their pathway be medicine or engineering? And I would say either. They really, either one would fit. As the students are kind of selecting the pathway that they would like to be in, our goal is for them to not necessarily have to rank them 1, 2, 3, or 4, but really to be able to say, I want to be in either health and wellness or DIT, but I'm comfortable in either. And then we will look at numbers and make sure that students are where they're really supposed to be.
And we would ask more questions to that specific student too, because if your love is more about the bio side of things, then health and wellness may be for you. But if you are that creative design and thinking and things of that nature, then DIT would be the pathway. However, you're going to get whatever classes you need in either one of those pathways. Because what I said, like when you have electives, you can choose to take an additional science class as an elective. You can choose to take one of the classes that are in the DIT pathway as an elective, if it's offered as an elective in your pathway. So they have options of putting together and this is why I love it, there's so many options for kids, putting together a package that works for them.
Yep. For each pathway, whenever we get those programs of study out, there will be recommended electives. So we're saying, if you're in this pathway, these are likely the classes that you're going to want to take, but you are not locked into those. Just because you're in DIT does not mean that you can't take a business class. You can do classes no matter where they sit. Another big piece, students will not just get information about different careers at the 8th grade level. We've embedded career exploration into that freshman level tech core class so that students are continuing to develop their interests and see what careers fall into those all throughout their freshman year.
Right. And just so you guys know too, there is an adult side to this process as well. So we're also investing in our teachers. So our teachers, to help wrap them, a lot of them have been students their entire lives. They were students from kindergarten until the time they went through college, and then they went back to school and became teachers, right? So they've been in school their entire lives. And school is kind of what most of them have known. And now we're having them think about things outside of, the human services pathway or the human services related thing. So we're offering externships to our teachers through these business partnerships where they can engage with these industry leaders directly with their jobs and learn more about that on the job type of thing. And then we also are working with an organization called Connect Ed that's that's giving them professional development on how to teach this content, the content that they already know and love, through these lenses that we're asking them to now view them through. So it's just exciting all around.
I keep laughing over here because we just keep going because we're both so excited about it, and we just want you guys to be just as excited as we are.
Any other questions, Alayna?
As of now, we are all caught up on questions. I will say within the next couple of days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a follow-up email just to make sure that we have all of the questions answered. If you have any more, please feel free to watch out or to reach out to either of us, to anyone at the middle school. Even if someone who you ask does not have the answer, we will make sure to reach out to whoever we need to get you the best information that we can.
Absolutely. And we'll stay on. I know sometimes people get kind of shy. So as other folks leave, we'll stay on until we're the last 2 on here. Then we'll know we're safe to go. But again, we so appreciate you all. Your time is important to us, and we value your partnership. Thank you so much. Dr. Sutton, thank you as well for being a part of this and just and leading this work. This is going to impact your students' lives for years to come. It's going to impact this district for years to come. And this man was in the forefront of it. So thank you, sir, for your leadership and vision.
And for those of you who have said thanks in the chat, you guys are so welcome. Thanks for joining us. As you can tell, we're excited and excited to partner with you all.
Thanks. Can you give them the option of taking themselves off mute? Because if they stayed on, they probably do have a question that they want just to answer for us.
I should be able to if I can figure it out.
Do they have to try to unmute themselves and then give you permission to?
Maybe. Here's what I'll do. Oh, no. I'm trying, guys. I'm new. That's not it. Here's what I'm going to do. If you guys are still on, I'm assuming that you have a question, so I'm going to ask you to unmute, and it will allow you to unmute. You can ignore that if you choose.
All right, so does anybody, so I think they're unmuted if they want to be. So if anyone has a question, please feel free. Or these may be the people who are changing out their other load of laundry. They're like, I had to walk away and the computer's still up and I'm changing out this load of laundry. Okay. Is anything coming across the chat?
It looks like Norma has a question. Norma, I tried to get you to be able to unmute. Let's see if it'll work. We did have someone ask if they could get the presentation.
Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay, so I have an 8th grader coming in, but I have a 9th grader. And if you want me to call later about that, I feel like this freshman year has kind of been lost in some areas.
It's been
He's
difficult.
floundering. So is there pathways for these freshmen that we've got right now?
So they won't go into a pathway. We're going to start it with the 8th graders who are coming up to be freshmen. But for your student, who is it, your son or daughter? I'm sorry.
It's my grandson, and his mom's here with me too. We're both here on this call.
Okay, so it's just you two, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, he's I just think they're not getting as much out, and I'd like to find a way. Should we make an appointment with a counselor so that
Absolutely.
he can see?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would love to talk to you guys specifically about him and how we can support him this school year, because this has been a very just different and difficult year. And it's really hard to be a freshman if you didn't come in with any understanding of Winnetonka whatsoever, like trying to get yourself calibrated to how we do things and what high school's like. It's just been a strange introduction to the school year. So definitely reach out to the counselor.
Well, I agree. Well, I'll call the school tomorrow. We'll make an appointment and see what we can do.
Okay.
Wonderful. And once information starts coming out about our pathway programs, you'll see some programs of study that are really just recommended paths that the students will follow of courses. And feel free to show that to your current freshman, and as he's enrolling or she, as they are enrolling, help them like look at those and find they can kind of create their own path, even though they won't be specifically identified in a pathway.
Right.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It was great talking to you. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, I'm gonna give you a call. Alayna, you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, she left.
I threw her in the waiting room.
Okay, stop recording then. I threw her in the waiting room.
How do I stop recording?